Ever since Cain slew Abel, crime has been a scourge of the human condition. It ebbs and flows as a reflection of an era's sanctity, or lack thereof. In today's video, we will hear from a saint about how to deal with this problem so that the words given to us by Jesus Christ in the Our Father will come to pass. Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. The Miracles and Prophecies of St. Don Bosco, a project of America Needs Fatima. I'm your host, Adrian Fonseca. Subscribe for new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. In today's episode, we'll dive into a fascinating conversation between Don Bosco and Minister Razzi that reveals the heart of the preventative system, a method that could transform how we approach education and rehabilitation even today. As we explore this remarkable exchange, keep these key themes in mind: the power of prevention over punishment, the essential role of faith and morality in education, and how gentleness can succeed where force fails. And a question for you: how might our world change if we applied Don Bosco's preventative system in our homes, our schools, and justice systems today? Before we begin in earnest, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to all of our promoters of Don Bosco. Because of you, we're able to run this channel free of distracting external ads or sponsors. We think YouTube should be full of good Catholic content, and you are helping us make that happen. So thank you. The Industrial Revolution hit Turin, Italy with brutal force, leaving many people living in poverty and ignorance while chasing after the illusions offered by a new era. The streets that St. Don Bosco walked down were teeming with the unwashed, hungering for bread and compassion. He gave them both, taking countless poor boys into his care. He was a man with a plan, and the glowing success of his charitable efforts caught the interest of certain political figures. For instance, like Razzi, the Minister of Justice. Razzi was intrigued. How did the simple priest keep so many boys under one roof without any crime? Not one boy harmed another. Unheard of. So one day, Razzi came to the oratory to find out for himself what made Don Bosco tick. With numerous questions, Razzi encouraged Don Bosco to tell him about the disciplinary method he used to control so many boys. Razzi, don't you have 2 or 3 city policemen or plainclothesmen to help you? Don Bosco, I don't need them, Your Excellency. Razzi, how could that be possible? Boys are boys. They must be unruly, quarrelsome, and quick to use their fists. What reprimands and punishments do you use to restrain them and prevent trouble? Don Bosco, most of the boys are certainly quick-tempered. But despite that, no violent punishment of any sort is needed to prevent disorders. That hardly seems possible. Tell me more about how you manage things. Your Excellency surely knows that there are 2 systems of education: the repressive and the preventative. The former uses force to repress and punish the guilty, while the latter relies on gentleness to help the subject observe the law by offering him the most suitable and effective incentives. This is our method. First and foremost, we try to inspire in these boys a reverential fear of God, love of virtue, and horror for sin, through catechetical and moral instruction. We guide them down the right path and give them good, timely advice, especially by teaching them to pray and to frequent the sacraments. Furthermore, we do our utmost to supervise them with kindness in play, school, or work, or to encourage them unreservedly. The minute they seem to be forgetting their duty, we call it to their attention in a friendly manner. In short, we do everything Christian charity recommends to help them from a right conscience, enlightened and sustained by moral principles that will lead them to do good and avoid evil. This is certainly the best method for educating rational beings, but does it work with everyone? It succeeds wonderfully with some, 90% of our boys. As for the rest, it succeeds at least in making them less obstinate and dangerous. I rarely have to expel a boy because he is defiant or incorrigible. Here at Valdoco, as at the St. Aloysius and Guardian Angel oratories, boys show up either of their own accord or because they have been brought by friends. These boys have been a problem to their parents and employers. They are ill-natured, unmanageable, or downright mean. Yet in the space of a few weeks, they undergo a remarkable change. In a sense, they are like wolves who have been turned into lambs. It's too bad the civil authorities can't adopt this system in prisons where hundreds of guards are needed to quell disorders, and where the inmates grow worse with each passing day. Why can't it be adopted? The authorities can make a start by allowing the church inside the prisons to introduce religious instruction and practices of piety. Then, they can give importance to religion by allowing priests to visit the inmates often, so that they may freely comfort and encourage them. By so doing, they would put the preventative system in operation. After a while, guards and wardens would hardly be needed, and the government could take pride in restoring useful, upright members of society and their families. On the contrary, with the repressive system, the government's attempts and expenditures for the rehabilitation or punishment of hundreds of criminals will all be in vain. The authorities are forced to watch the convicts after their release, lest they commit even worse crimes than before. The conversation continued for over an hour, while Razzi listened with great interest to Don Bosco. This particular conversation so impressed him that from that day on he became a staunch supporter of Don Bosco. He became quite convinced of the great advantages of the preventative system that was used at the oratory, and promised to do all that he could to encourage its adoption by the government. Remember the promoters of Don Bosco group that I mentioned at the beginning of the video? Well, I want to take a moment to tell you a little bit more about it. We started this channel with the goal of spreading awareness of Don Bosco and the lessons that his life teaches across the internet. But we quickly realized that we could not rely on YouTube ad revenue because of the often immoral and always irritating nature of the ads here on YouTube. So we started the Supporters of Don Bosco group. When you join us as a monthly promoter of Don Bosco, you are able to donate as much or as little as you would like, and your contribution helps fund this whole channel. In return, we create these videos, but we also wanted to do more. We asked a local Catholic priest to offer a Saturday Mass for our monthly promoters and include their written intentions in this Mass. We also pray our daily rosaries for each and every one of you. We have several of Don Bosco's books that we ship out to our donors, as well as other gifts that you can see if you click the link down below. In short, we want our Don Bosco supporters to be flooded not only with Don Bosco's teaching through our videos, but also graces from masses, rosaries, beautiful images, and much more. If you'd like to join us as an official promoter of Don Bosco, click the link in the description box down below. Don Bosco's conversation with Minister Razzi demonstrates a timeless truth. The path to transforming lives lies not in force or punishment, but in prevention through love, faith, and gentle guidance. His preventative system wasn't just a theory, it was proven daily in the streets of Turin, turning troubled youths into upright citizens through the power of Christian charity and moral education. Once again, we see Don Bosco putting into practice the Salesian principle of catching more flies with honey than vinegar. But notice, my friend, that this authentically Catholic method does not use the current psychobabble, but is grounded in respect for God, love of virtue, and a horror for sin. These are necessary concepts that, with kindness and a friendly manner, must be repeated over and over in both word and deed. Even though you and I may not be able to implement Don Bosco's preventative methods in all the schools and prisons of America, we can certainly use it in our families and our social circles. And this way, one soul at a time, we will see his will being done on earth as it is in heaven. But what aspects of Don Bosco's preventative system do you think could be most beneficial in our modern world? How could we implement it? Maybe send this video to a teacher or to an educator of some kind. Share your thoughts in the comment section down below, because I would love to hear from you. I'm sure you have a ton of good ideas. Thank you for joining me today. St. John Bosco, pray for us. May God bless you, and Mary Immaculate keep you under her mantle. God love you.